Are you all set?
We're set.
Okay. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay, everyone? Thank you for joining us today. My name is Toby Bizzuto. I'm the president and CEO of the Bizzuto Group. And those of you that were here, the last time we were gathered was the fall of 2019 amidst the backdrop of a very active construction site. And here we are a pandemic later, and we're proud to officially open the first phase. This is the first phase of our project. I'm confident that you'll find that this community is consistent with the incredible vision of Governor Baker, Mayor Koch, Mass DOT, and MBTA, and our partner DJ McKinnon. The Abbey also adheres to Bizzuto's commitment to create sanctuary for those we serve. Later this afternoon, or really in a few minutes, you're going to hear about the extraordinary leasing pace of this community, which in our business is the best metric we have of success. An important note, in the 33-year history of the Bizzuto Group, this is the fastest leasing project that we've ever had, which is an extraordinary testament. Thank you. It's really great to see this kind of initial success, and obviously a testament to the incredible city of Quincy, as well as the incredible Bizzuto management team. So thank you for everything you do. Today is a truly an exciting milestone for our partnership with the MBTA, Atlantic Development in the city of Quincy. And as I mentioned before, this is the first phase of several to come. Lastly, when we were here at the groundbreaking, I had the honor of presenting Mayor Koch an original letter from Abigail Adams, and obviously we have named the building after her, the Abbey. And today, as you tour the building, please note that we've taken parts of that letter and they're sort of imbued throughout the entire project, including on the walls, which is really cool. This building stands as a modern nod to Quincy's storied history of fighting for and preserving independence. So it is now my honor to introduce Governor Baker. Without Mayor Koch and Governor Baker's leadership, we simply would not be where we are today. So thank you both very much. So Governor Baker, thank you.
So thank you and good afternoon, and it's really nice to be outside, not necessarily socially distanced, with a whole bunch of folks to celebrate this sort of point in time associated with this development. Both the Lieutenant Governor and I attended the groundbreaking here, and this was a very much a four-bank shot that involved the City of Quincy, the MBTA, the Department of Transportation, and associated other entities locally to pull this off and put it together. But it's a 600-unit transit-oriented development at its core, and it comes with a significant investment in the Affordable Housing Trust to the City of Quincy, and will provide a significant opportunity for people to live in this beautiful development, to be near the great community of Quincy, and to be a very short ride on the Red Line from the city of Boston. And as we continue to make hundreds of millions of dollars, probably billions at this point, of investments in the modernization of the Red Line to go along with a number of projects like this, this is all part of building a better, stronger Commonwealth, and especially working on building housing across Massachusetts. We filed a pretty significant piece of legislation to put about $1 billion of federal ARPA money into housing. Massachusetts, as we all know, does not have enough housing of any kind, and that has huge consequences on what people pay for the housing we do have. We need to build more, and we especially need to build more in eastern Massachusetts. And I look forward to seeing parts 2 and part 3 of this go up so that we can come back and celebrate that. But mostly, I just want to say thanks to the mayor, and especially to the development and construction team for seeing this through the pandemic and getting us to this point in time. There's lots more good work to be done here, and we look forward to that as well. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor. DJ, you up next?
I think so.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I'm really pleased to be here for the opening of this first phase, especially with the incredibly strong leasing activity that we've had here at the Abbey. You know, it speaks both to the desirable location as well as the beautiful community that they've created. Like to thank Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Mayor Koch. Without their leadership and foresight, we just would not have had this opportunity. I'd also like to thank the MBTA, the many other state agencies we work with throughout, the city officials that we work with during the permitting and construction, as well as all the other elected officials in Quincy that helped us to make this happen. I'd like to thank our partners, in particular Toby Bizzuto and the entire Bizzuto team, their oversight on the beautiful design and the construction, and now performing the leasing and management for this premier community. Now that you've seen it, and with the Abbey opening and the residents living here, it's easy to understand why Bizzuto has been named the top property management company in the country for the 7th year in a row. So congratulations, Toby. And this really just shows what a great collaboration. It's an excellent example of private-public partnership. Started with the governor's directive to seek private proposals for key transit locations. That has resulted in both the important increase in housing that the state is trying to do, as well as an independent revenue source for the T through the ground lease payments that we'll be making over the next 99 years. And that's an independent revenue source from the state or any other public funds.
We do not plan to be around for the whole
And then really next, with the mayor's leadership, actually crafting zoning to allow for this transit-oriented development helped us to transform a 7-acre parking lot, at ground level with retail shops and restaurants, with the housing above for the neighborhood, jobs for the local workforce, and then significant real estate taxes to the city of Quincy. This whole development is being done without any public funds being spent. It's done completely with private funding, but also has created a great investment opportunity on the private side for the people that have been able to invest in it. So with that, really like to thank the development team, and again, special thanks to the governor, lieutenant governor, and the mayor. Without their leadership, we just would not have had this opportunity, so thank you. And with that, I'd like to introduce the lieutenant governor. She actually wasn't able to make it for the groundbreaking. We've talked about that a few times since, so we're really pleased that you're able here to see it at this point in time, and thank you, and please come up.
Thank you. Thank you. Very proud of you, and I'm so happy to see the finished product. But if you can just imagine, and you didn't need to too long ago, know that this was an 800-plus parking lot, right? And clearly, this is a beautiful place to call home, and an amenity that is so Quincy, with the naming of it the Abbey, which is so appropriate. I can attest to the fact that Abigail would be very happy today. Just want to say for our team, it's a pleasure to work with all of you, fine leadership team that you put together. I've talked to DJ a number of times over the course of this project, just making sure that it stayed relatively on track so that you would have this day happen. It starts with a vision, and many of you know that Mayor Koch's vision, along with his city council and his leadership team at City Hall, fully embraces housing options for his community. This has been a long-time vision. I remember touring the city with the governor back in 2014 and looking at the possibilities, and now those possibilities are reality. But it takes a leader in a community to say, this is the policy that we have in Quincy, and we want to work with our partners to get it done. So congratulations, Mr. Mayor, for seeing that vision come to reality. I also want to pick up on what DJ talked about. Public-private partnerships work. Clearly is the way we do business here in the Commonwealth. Taking an underutilized public asset and truly turning it into something, a transformational project like this is the way to do it. This clearly is part of our vision around transit-oriented development, bringing people closer to transit locations, getting on a rail and getting to the places they need to work or to enjoy other parts of this area and the city of Boston is clearly what this represents. So you serve as an inspiration to other gateway cities to be able to think about this process, putting a leadership team conveying the right message to the private sector that you're a place that they want to do business. You know, they have choices. They don't have to be in Quincy, but they think about a place like Quincy because they know the people over at City Hall are going to sit down and talk to them and be reasonable and streamline a process wherever they can to make it happen. There's no question these projects have to stay on time, and clearly under budget from a public standpoint is clearly where you need to go, and a private standpoint too. So this gives us a great opportunity to say thank you, and we want to see more of this here in the Commonwealth. As the governor said, we certainly need more housing. It's one of the barriers to growing more successfully here in Massachusetts. We don't have enough housing of all kinds, and so we need more cities and towns to understand the role that housing can play to redevelop and imagine their downtowns and main streets and make sure that people of all ages can afford and can access housing that makes sense for them. So it's a great project, a great outcome. I'm very proud of your accomplishment and really happy to see this day come. Congratulations.
Okay, I'll be brief. It's warm. Summer is here. I'm Mike Hennihan. Good afternoon. I'm the president of Bizzuto Development, and thank you all for being here. This is an incredibly exciting milestone. Frankly, it's amazing to think that we're all here getting back to some normalcy to celebrate kind of this collective achievement and have everybody together. So that's exciting. We've always been strong believers of this location on the Red Line. And I think, as everybody's kind of alluded to a little bit, the leasing to date over the last 60 days, actually a little bit less, has reaffirmed that, kind of belief. But the stats, I had to write these down like 3 different times because they change rapidly. Our leasing team is moving so quickly, but we've leased 171 leases or residences to date. We're just about 80% leased on this first building. So, we need to keep moving forward to stay out in front of them. They're doing a great job. The next phase of the project will open in the fall, and we're going to have everybody back. It will be a very exciting time, dynamic set of amenities, and that will be really the project coming to life at that point. So we're excited about that. And I should say, as with many large, complicated mixed-use projects, we've had our bumps along the road. We obviously have been through many COVID-related challenges, as we all have, but I just want to thank our collective team. They've worked relentlessly and found their way through problems, continued to move forward, and here we are. So it's very exciting. But, a few people, and I can't name everybody, I apologize, but Icon, our architect, has been tremendous. Our team of designers and engineers, Callahan Construction and their subcontractors and our union trades, Northwestern Mutual, a longtime partner. They've been amazing as always. DJ McKinnon with Atlantic, a tremendous partners, and of course I have to thank our One Bizzuto team, which we call that. It's our construction, leasing, development team. So, Jay and James, I'm sure you don't know these people necessarily, but they're wonderful, and Calla has picked up the torch and moved the project forward. Yeah, we can. And also, of course, our public stakeholders. So MBTA, Richard, Ashley, and many others that are here and not here. You guys, thank you for continuing to plug away here. City of Quincy, thank you. Mayor Koch and the neighborhood have all played an instrumental role in forming this project. So thank you to all. And then last but not least, I wanted to give a special thank you to Mayor Koch. His tireless support, guidance, vision has made sure that we, bring this project to fruition and respect and integrate the project into kind of the rich fabric of Quincy. So thank you for your patience and hard work pushing us at every turn. But thank you so much for your support. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Koch.
Thank you, Mike. It's the fat guys are supposed to be sweating, not a thin guy like you.
I'm from upstate New York.
Oh, okay. All right. I want to acknowledge Senator Keenan over here, who this includes his district and was also helpful along the way. But certainly, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, welcome back to Quincy. You've been here quite a few times in your tenure, and it's never enough. So you're always welcome here. To Toby and the Bizzuto Group, congratulations. Thank you for your investment into our great city. DJ, it's always a pleasure working with you on projects throughout the city, and I'm sure Mike will be talking more about some future projects. But this was a no-brainer. I mean, you know, when the governor set forth the whole transportation-oriented development program, you know, the challenge was really the state agencies in some ways. And the MBTA has a lot of authority, but, you know, they have some trouble sometimes getting there. So I appreciate the governor setting the ground rules to allow this to go forward, because when you look at it, we're filling the housing need to an extent, right? We're building units, which we need drastically. There's a lease here that the MBTA gets money for every month that goes toward their budget, which we know they need some help with. There's real estate taxes go to the city of Quincy, which helps us put teachers in the classroom and policemen on the street. This was a 7.5-acre asphalt lot. So this is an incredible improvement to the gateway of the north part of our city. And I'm grateful for the T and everybody's involvement on this. Maybe as we continue to go forward, we get more efficient at it, because we've got some other locations in Quincy that we'll be looking at going forward. Last week, we announced 3 new buildings in the downtown. 2 15-story buildings and a 7-story building. 2 of those buildings, Sam Slater, who has also got a permit for a building down the street, a 16-story. But you know what? If this wasn't happening, I'm not so sure Sam Slater would have been looking at Quincy. This was a huge message to the investment community. The city is open for business for all the right reasons. I am in trouble now because you announced this, the Abbey was named for Abigail Adams. I got to break the news to my daughter Abby. I told her it was for her. We only live a couple blocks from here, so this literally is home for me, this neighborhood. So, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, thank you for all you do. And when you look back at your years of service, and I hope you're going to be around for a while, the MBTA was one of the big challenges he took on. You think of the winter of 15 and some of the challenge he faced. Many governors would sidestep that. That's a separate authority. This guy tackles every issue, rolls his sleeves up, and gets the job done. And as a CEO in the city, I have great respect for that and great appreciation for that. So, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, you always pick up the phone. You always answer the text. I appreciate that greatly. And Toby, DJ, Mike, the team, all the team involved, congratulations. One final thing, though, this was always going to pass. It was going to get through the process. The architect's a North Quincy High grad. The planning director's a North Quincy High grad. The local council is a North Quincy High grad. The senator's a North Quincy High grad, and the mayor's a North Quincy High grad. So this, you must have known that going into this, Toby. So thank you, everybody. Congratulations to the team. Enjoy this beautiful day. God bless.
So, I do have to point out to the mayor that North Quincy will also be an early college program participator come the fall when the kids come back to school, which is going to be a great thing for the kids here in North Quincy. Very much. And to Senator Keenan, where'd he go? I just want to say how much we appreciate everything you've done on behavioral health and addiction in particular, because coming out of this pandemic, there is going to be a lot of work to do on that stuff, and we look forward to working with you. Oh, okay. All right. Whatever.
So did they? Yes, the honor is going to go to our Lieutenant Governor to do a ribbon cutting.
our mic?
Somebody's mic.
Yeah.
Upside? Like that? You want like this? That work? Okay. You guys have any questions? So I say two things. The first is, I think for folks in the healthcare community, there are going to be decisions that institutions are going to make based on what they think is in the best interest of their employees and their patients. And I expect and anticipate that people will make those decisions based on a number of factors, one of which will be how much of their workforce has already gotten vaccinated in many cases. And I think at this point in time, I would prefer to let organizations make the decisions they think are going to keep their people safest. And at this point in time, those institutions made a decision that they want to see their employees get vaccinated. As far as I'm concerned, that's their call. But different people are in different places with respect to this, and I think we should respect that as well.
Regarding the sales tax proposal, lawmakers are already pushing back on that, saying the money and the funding could be used elsewhere. What do you think?
Well, the first thing I'd say about the sales tax proposal is the legislature enacted a budget. We signed it, and it had certain assumptions about spending and revenue. Because of the hard work of the people of Massachusetts, the tax revenue side of this came in significantly above where we thought it would be. In the midst of a pandemic, the people of Massachusetts once again overperformed. We believe because of that, they deserve to get a piece of this back. They've had a very tough year. Small businesses have had a tough year. Main Street businesses have had a tough year. And people have had a tough year. And giving them a 6% cut on everything they pay for or everything they sell between now and the end of the summer, which is basically what we're talking about here, we think would be a great way to jumpstart the economy. The other point I want to make here is I've heard some of the legislative pushback saying that we have other things we need to spend money on. You know, our administration submitted a proposal last week to spend $2.8 billion on many of the things that people say we should spend money on. We agree, which is why we filed that legislation in the first place. So I'm having a little trouble understanding if the legislature thinks it's important that we spend money on behavioral and addiction services, on more housing, on transportation, on environmental infrastructure, on all those things that they were talking about, we're ready to see that proposal that we filed move. But the answer we got from them was that they want to spend some time thinking about it. I have trouble figuring out how both of those things are consistent.
Is there room to compromise on that?
Of course. I'm always open to discussion and compromise. I think it's one of the things I'm most proud of over the course of the past 7 years is that our administration has worked very well with our colleagues in the legislature on all kinds of things.
Would it have the same, incentive, the same result you're looking for to give people tax break and stimulate the economy and retailers if it were a week or 2 weeks instead of 2 months?
We have a very significant surplus for a fiscal year that ends in 9 days. The people of Massachusetts earned that surplus. We believe they should get it back.
What are some of the carrots and sticks for affordable housing? I don't believe there's any affordable designated housing in this bill.
Well, there's $4 million going into the city of Quincy's Affordable Housing Trust, which I'm sure the mayor will find a perfectly appropriate way to put to work. And as I said, we just put $1 billion. $1 billion. We filed legislation last week to put $1 billion into affordable housing initiatives in the communities that were hit hardest by the COVID pandemic over the course of the past year. Now, to put $1 billion to work, you have to do it in a bunch of different ways. Some of it's rental. We believe we should put a big chunk of it into helping people buy a home. One of the things people are deeply concerned about, and so am I, is the hot housing market that we have right now is going to drive a whole bunch of folks in many of those communities out of those communities because they're not going to be able to afford to continue to live there. The fastest way you could stabilize those communities is make it possible for those people to buy the homes that they're in, because then they make the decision about what happens next to that home. And that's one of the reasons why I feel a sense of urgency about moving forward on some of this housing. If we wait until 4, 5, 6, 8 months from now, we may eventually get around to starting to do this, but in the meantime, a whole bunch of people who might have had an opportunity to stay where they are may lose it, and that's part of what I'm concerned about. But $1 billion, we could do a lot with $1 billion. And we think our housing crisis for many people, and especially those who live in those communities who are hardest hit by the pandemic, is where we should start. Think about how many times over the course of the past year we talked about the housing instability and the housing insecurity that was such a huge problem for people in those communities. We have a real chance to start doing something for them right now. And we didn't create new programs for this. The money we proposed all goes into programs that the legislature is familiar with, they understand, and they've supported in the past. All we did was turbocharge them by putting really significant resources behind them, resources we believe are properly invested that way.
Governor, a psychologist at Northeastern recently said that to reach herd immunity around COVID, you need to get to a threshold of 85 to 90%. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? And are you concerned at all with this?
So, I'm not a scientist. And unfortunately, the scientists have a hard time agreeing on a lot of things around COVID. And I'm sympathetic to that because it's a novel coronavirus. When this all began, the consensus number that people talked to us about with respect to getting to the point where we would be safe was 4.1 million people, which is where the people of Massachusetts have gotten to. And I can't tell you how proud I am of what they've accomplished. I've talked to governors across the country who have said to me, you know, that in many cases they created vaccination infrastructure they couldn't get people to go. In Massachusetts, people came out and they got vaccinated, and God bless them for doing so. God bless them for doing so for themselves, their families, their coworkers, their neighbors, their friends. There are also roughly 500,000 or 600,000 people in Massachusetts who got COVID. And we've said all along we want those people to get vaccinated too. But most of those people also carry antibodies. The big question is nobody knows how long they last, and it depends a lot on the studies that are being done right now of people who had COVID to determine how immune and for how long you are if you actually had COVID. We said we're not going to stop vaccinating people until we run out of vaccine, which hopefully won't ever occur. We're going to continue to run our programs. One of our biggest challenges is not so much the raw number at this point, but the differential between and among certain counties and certain neighborhoods and certain communities. So our focus at this point going forward is going to be to do everything we can to up the numbers in the places where we don't have the same penetration that we have across the Commonwealth overall. And I think at this point in time, that's a much bigger issue than the total number of people who are vaccinated.
Thanks, everyone. Governor, during the last your last race, you nearly won Boston just by a few thousand votes short. Just wanted to ask if you're going to be endorsing anybody in the mayor's race down there.
Well, you know, Lieutenant Governor and I have worked extremely closely with all of our municipal colleagues, including this gentleman right here. And we believe as former local officials, we believe one of our fundamental responsibilities in the jobs we have is to help our local colleagues be successful. And we had a very good relationship with former Mayor Walsh and his team, and we have a good working relationship with Mayor Janey and her team. And I sincerely doubt we're going to do anything other than support whoever it is that wins the race in Boston, because we're going to want to be their partner too.
Thanks, everyone. Governor, if the MBTA doesn't get a successor board in place in time, would a week or 2 weeks screw up the MBTA, cause any kind of disruption?
So the Fiscal Management Control Board, which, by the way, you know, those people put in somewhere between 50 and 60, sometimes 70 meetings a year since the start of the Snowmageddon, which Mayor Koch mentioned. So for 6 years, those people have been putting in an extraordinary amount of time. They haven't been paid a dime for the time they've put in, and they've made an enormous difference in many elements of the MBTA's operation. And they made a decision at the last meeting to vote on a whole bunch of things that basically make it possible for the T to continue to operate, even if there isn't an FMCB for some period of time. The responsibilities around some of those traditional decisions, if there isn't a new board in the next 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, would then fall to the DOT board, which I think, as you know, has several members on it who also served on the existing FMCB. So I think they did a nice job of anticipating the possibility that something might not be there right away, and I think they'll be okay.
Thank you.
Governor Baker, Democrats running for governor say the state needs bold, transformative change. Is that true? too, or is Massachusetts in good shape?
I think Massachusetts has lots of bold transformative change, and I'll start with stuff like this. There's transit-oriented development going on all over the Commonwealth. I would love to be able to pursue a bold transformative change agenda on housing by getting the $1 billion that we asked the legislature for into our housing initiatives. We're driving, for all intents and purposes, the entire offshore wind development process all the way up and down the East Coast. It was our bid project several years ago that suddenly got everybody interested in offshore wind because we got a price point that people believe they could actually live with and support. We led the nation in the work we did originally on the opioid epidemic, and guys like Senator Keenan were a big part of that. There's a ton of work left to do there. We put a couple of $100 million into that proposal we put before the legislature to make significant investments right now in our behavioral health programs and our addiction programs because we believe we need them. We put $400 million into that proposal to fix a lot of the environmental infrastructure that and Mike will vouch for me on this one, that we've been trying to get a bill passed for the past several years to make happen. Most of the things we do, we believe, are important and transformative. We wouldn't do them if we didn't. But there is this thing called the process that we all have to work our way through, and everybody who participates in it, including us, needs to recognize and understand that a process sometimes takes a little longer to become transformative than we might like. Thanks, everybody.